In astronomy, there is this idea that has become known as the Great Silence. Given how old and how vast the universe is, we should expect to hear evidence of intelligent alien civilizations. Yet when we raise our gaze to the stars and listen for signals from deep space, all we hear is silence. The Great Silence. A more technical name for this idea is the Fermi Paradox. This empty, lonely universe is a beautifully terrifying thought. Maybe that's why we make so much noise, to fill the Great Silence. We started releasing radio waves in 1895, which means that human voices have now been transmitted 705 trillion miles into interstellar space, well past our nearest star. This figure sounds massive, but in the grand scheme of the entire universe, it is pitifully small. We wage bitter war against silence, up there, but also down here in everyday life. In the last 50 years, there has been a shocking increase of sedatophobia, the fear of silence. Many of us can't go a day without being surrounded by constant noise. We monitor screen time, but fall asleep to podcasts, music, and audiobooks. Perhaps we fear silence because we're afraid of what might be lurking in it. Perhaps loneliness or an inner nothingness. Perhaps a disturbed and unsettled pool of anxiety. Perhaps something worse. The philosopher Kierkegaard writes that while silence can take us to heaven, it can also send us to our own personal hell. If silence is the home of angels, it is also the home of demons. I think we are afraid to face these inner demons. But if we were to do battle with and push through these inner demons, silence is for many thinkers the gateway to something greater. For the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, silence is the source of great strength. For Francis Bacon, it is where wisdom can be found. For the Danish thinker Kierkegaard, silence is not a sign of death, but the life-giving medicine for the panic of the modern world. For the Bronze Age Jewish prophet Elijah, silence is also the place that God dwells. For the author Virginia Woolf, there is literally nothing better than silence. A 17th century Spanish thinker, St. John of the Cross, spoke about another great silence, not in interstellar space, but in the inner sanctum of the human soul. This great silence he describes not as a cosmic graveyard, but as a silence that is full of thick, peaceful joy. A peaceful joy that derives from having the noisy, anxious urgency of our lives silenced. This is another kind of silence, a silence that happens to us. This is not silence as a noun, but as a verb, to silence, or rather, to be silenced. It occurs to me that silence presents us with two paths. In one, we fill the silence with noise. In the other, we allow ourselves to be silenced. But silenced by what? You may have had fleeting moments of being silenced, moments that lift the soul. They often happen in nature, being alone in big places, being in awe, a word which describes a sense of eternal power and divine nature, a sense of God, if you will. I think we long for a silencing force so great and vast to usher in a great silence within our disquiet heart.
Hey everyone, my name is Dan Kim. I'm the writer of the video you just watched. And what you just watched is something called a thought short, a cinematic reflection on cultural topics. Here in OWLINSPACE, we like to explore some of the big questions around life and science, and we consider things like technology, philosophy and religion, and how they interact with each other. If you liked what you saw, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out on our side, and will help you keep updated on what we're doing as well. So there were quite a few influences to this piece. The music, which was beautiful by the way, was influenced in part by a composer called Arvo Pärt, an Estonian composer who is really worth checking out for sure. Visually, the inspiration came from this incredible artist called Thomas Sanchez, who paints these beautiful large canvas pieces of nature and embeds quite small figures of people throughout it, and it's really worth checking his art out as well. Personally, I was inspired to write this piece while reading a short story by a sci-fi author called Ted Chiang called The Great Silence, who explores the Fermi Paradox and why we don't find any alien life out there. He's really worth checking out as well. His stories are fantastic. And then coming across a writer, a very different kind of writer, a Catholic mystic called St. John of the Cross, who spoke about a very different kind of silence. And these two experiences of the great silence was a great way to, I think, to explore this strange thing we call stillness and solitude and silence. And particularly nowadays, as there's so much noise pollution and there's so much, I suppose, content being thrown at us and distraction, I thought going very cosmic and then going very intimate in the soul was quite a good way to explore this theme. So again, thank you for watching. I hope this video sparked some inspiration and provocation in you, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much. Cheers.